A hotel lobby. Early evening. Crystal chandeliers scattering light across a marble floor that carries the echo of every footstep. One man stands squarely in the middle of the entrance, hands on his hips, as if the entire room belongs to him. A few steps away, another man has stopped walking, not afraid, not surprised, just still, the way someone watches a storm gather before it breaks. Within a few seconds, this lobby will hold a silence unlike anything most of these people have ever felt. This is a story that has circulated in martial arts circles for years, sometimes with a different city attached, sometimes a different name, but it clings hardest to Bruce Lee. It isn't fixed in any record, and no date pins it down completely, but every time it's told, the room goes quiet. This is that story. The setting was a large, old, but still magnificent hotel in the most expensive part of the city, the kind of place where wealthy merchants, film stars, and champion athletes stayed. A massive chandelier hung 20 feet above the lobby floor, scattering golden streaks of light across the marble. Outside, the traffic hummed. Inside, there was only the low murmur of conversation, and somewhere, a piano drifting in from a lounge. It was around 7 in the evening, the hour when a hotel comes alive for the night. Waiters moving through the room with trays, 2 clerks busy at the reception desk, guests seated on sofas waiting for company. That evening, a particular guest was staying at the hotel, a wrestler people called The Storm. He'd arrived in the city for a major international match, and his reputation had reached the lobby before he had. His record read like something out of legend: 64 fights, not a single loss. Weight over 280 pounds, height 6'5", 2-time continental champion, and once, in front of a stadium packed with thousands, a winner on the biggest stage of his career. His own story wasn't ordinary either. Born in a port city, abandoned by his father as a boy, he'd earned everything with his own hands, labor first, wrestling later. He won his first international match at 19, and from that day, his name was the first one mentioned whenever a major matchup was being discussed. That evening he stood in the lobby with 2 or 3 companions, deep in conversation about his next fight, when someone caught his eye. A small, lean man in black trousers and a white shirt, crossing a corner of the lobby without drawing any attention to himself. "That's him," one of his companions said, a note of surprise in his voice. "The one who calls himself a martial artist. Does films too, apparently." The Storm turned his heavy gaze toward the man, and a flicker of amusement crossed his face. "That's small," he said. "People talk about him this much?" "They say he's fast," the companion said, a little carefully. "And his hands." "Hands don't matter," the Storm cut in, "if the body behind them is that weak." His companions exchanged a glance, as if they already knew what was coming. The man, whom the world would later know by one name, had come that evening simply to meet a friend, with no intention of making a scene. He walked unhurried, taking in the room the way he always did entering any new space, where the exits were, where the floor was smooth, where the light was thin. There was no urgency in his walk, shoulders loose, arms swinging lightly, as if there were no danger at all. But anyone who looked closely would notice one thing: his eyes never settled in one place. They swept the room constantly, without ever letting anyone feel watched. His knuckles carried faint, old marks, the marks of years of practice, not of a single brawl. The way he walked kept his weight centered under him at all times, never swaying to one side. Near the reception desk, a waiter recognized him and gave a small, respectful nod. He returned it just as quietly and kept walking. That's when the Storm's voice cut across the lobby, loud, deliberate, meant for everyone to hear. "I hear you call yourself a martial artist." The murmur of the room paused for a moment. The clerk at reception looked up. Guests on the sofas turned toward the sound. The man stopped. He didn't turn fully, just tilted his head slightly toward the Storm. "You know who I am?" the Storm asked, smiling at his companions as if inviting them to enjoy the show. "I've heard the name," the man said, his voice low. "Congratulations on your wins." "Just congratulations," the Storm said, stepping closer, close enough that his shadow fell over the smaller man. "People say you make big claims, that you can put anyone on the ground a second." "I don't make claims," the man said. "What people say is their business. A crowd was gathering now. Some abandoned their tasks to watch. Waiters stood frozen with trays in hand, unsure whether to step forward or stay back. "I don't like it," the storm said, raising his voice further. "When someone takes fame without earning it, come on, show me. Right here, right now." One companion, apparently the more level-headed of the group, grabbed the storm's shoulder. "Not here. This is a hotel. That's exactly why it's better." The storm shook off the hand. "Let everyone see. Let the truth come out." The man stood quietly for a moment, his eyes fixed on the storm. There was no fear in his mind in that instant, only calculation. Refusing here would mean tomorrow's story became, he backed down. And he'd spend every day after proving otherwise. But saying yes carried its own weight. Not a responsibility to hurt anyone, only to do exactly as much as was necessary. "All right," the man finally said, his voice carrying the same calm it always had. "On two conditions." The storm raised his eyebrows. "Conditions? You're setting conditions?" "First, when I say stop, you stop. Second, nothing in this place gets damaged." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. It was strange. This small man, in front of everyone, was setting terms for a wrestler twice his size, and far more famous. The storm laughed loudly. "Agreed," he said, cracking his knuckles. "Won't even take me 2 seconds." The lobby had gone completely silent now. A clerk at reception quietly picked up the phone, perhaps to call security, then stopped. Something in the atmosphere held him back, as though he too sensed something worth watching was about to unfold. On the marble floor, the chandelier's light cast 2 shadows, one massive, one small, but now both seemed to carry equal weight. In the first second, the storm's right hand shot forward, trying to grab the man's collar, a straight, powerful move, the same one that had put far bigger wrestlers on the ground before. In the second, the man's body shifted with a small, almost imperceptible movement, not stepping back, not fleeing, just sliding his weight to one side. The storm's hand caught nothing but air. In the third second, the man's own hand had already wrapped around the storm's wrist, his other hand applying a light pressure to the elbow joint. Exactly the kind of sensitivity built through years of Wing Chun's Chi Sao practice, where the hands learn to feel an opponent's own motion and redirect it back into itself. In the fourth second, the storm's body, over 280 pounds of it, began to fold forward under the momentum of his own charge, like a great tree uprooting from its own base. In the fifth second, his knees buckled, and the crowd's breath caught. Someone said afterward that the silence in that lobby was so complete, you could hear the traffic outside clearly, and even the piano playing somewhere seemed to have stopped. This silence wasn't pain. It was understanding, as if the whole crowd had watched together, the exact moment they realized what they'd assumed was an even contest never had been. In the sixth second, the storm was down on one knee on the marble floor. He hadn't fallen. He'd been lowered, as if the man had guided him down carefully enough to leave no room for injury. The hand still on his wrist eased at the last instant, as though the man had measured out exactly the force needed, not a fraction more. 6 seconds. The entire story, in 6 seconds. 64 wins. 280 pounds. And a man who had trusted his own strength completely was now on one knee on a hotel lobby floor. Not from injury, only from realization. This wasn't a difference of strength. It was a difference of understanding. Many say that if this story is truly about Bruce Lee, its whole secret lies in the one principle most tied to his name. Be water, my friend. Water that takes the shape of whatever holds it, carves its own path, and never loses its true strength. The storm had built his entire life on straight, hard force, like a wall that only knows how to move forward. The man never met force directly. He was water, flowing around anything that tried to block him, turning that thing's own strength against itself. The second idea repeated endlessly in martial arts circles. Economy of motion, the least movement for the greatest effect. The more a person shows off their strength, the more they reveal their weakness. The storm's hands, his power, his fame, all of it became useless in a single moment because his opponent never met him head-on. And a third idea, perhaps the deepest of all, no way is way. No single method is always right. Only the method that fits this moment, this instant, is right. The storm had spent 15 or 20 years on one approach. Come in straight, grab straight, throw straight. The man had no single method at all. His method was built, moment by moment, out of the storm's own movements. These three principles, flowing like water, achieving more with less motion, and never binding yourself to one fixed way, aren't confined to the fighting arena. They apply to every confrontation in life, whether it happens in a hotel lobby or in the hardest moments a person faces within themselves. The storm got up slowly, carefully, rubbing his wrist where the pressure had been. There was no wound, no bruise, but the spot still ached, as though a lesson had been written there. The crowd was still silent. The clerk at reception set the phone back down. There was no longer any need to call anyone. The man extended a hand to help him up. The storm hesitated, then took it. How? Was all the storm asked, no anger in his voice, only the question itself. You put your strength against me, the man said. I only changed its direction. Strength itself is never false. Only its direction can be wrong. The storm was quiet for a moment, looking at his own wrist as though something was becoming clear that years of training had never taught him. 15 years, he said quietly, and all I learned was how to become stronger. You showed me in 6 seconds that was never the real question. Being strong isn't wrong, the man said. Strength just needs understanding, or it turns against its own owner, the way it just did. The storm glanced at his companions, then back at the man. I'd learn from you, he said, if you'd let me. The man smiled and nodded. You can always learn. Just remember who you're learning from, even your opponent, if that's what it takes. They shook hands. No noise, no spectacle. The people near the reception desk were still quiet, but it wasn't fear anymore. It was respect. It said that after that evening, the storm's training changed completely. He stopped, focusing only on building weight and force. He began learning to read an opponent's movement, to gauge the balance beneath his own feet. His companions took time to recognize this new version of him. But once they saw that his wins had become cleaner, more controlled, they began following the same approach. The storm's later students, who never witnessed the hotel lobby moment with their own eyes, only knew that their teacher's way of training was different from everyone else's, that he always asked, "Is this necessary?" before ever attempting a move. This story, however it's told, still circulates in martial arts gatherings today, sometimes with a different hotel, sometimes a different wrestler's name attached. Some say the real incident happened somewhere else entirely. Some say the match didn't end that quickly. Whatever the truth, the story carries the same weight as many of Bruce Lee's genuine, documented moments, that he never displayed his strength for its own sake, only answered when it was truly called for. One moment, one lesson, one echo that still carries. Is strength really what we show? Or is it, in truth, what we understand? This story, however it's been told, however old it is, says only this. The greatest danger is never the one standing in front of you, but the one you fail to see. And sometimes, a lifetime of strength takes no more than 6 seconds to meet its match, in a hotel lobby, under a chandelier's light. And Bruce Lee's life held more than one story like this. Stories still spoken of today, some documented, some only legend. If you want to hear one that very few people have ever told, that's a story for another time.